Hello, 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 hello. Hello, everybody. Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Please.
we can hear you.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Okay, great. Thank you, thank you. I was myself a little bit late, so sorry about that. I will wait for one more minute and let students join in. Okay. Okay, I think we will start. The session is being recorded, so we will share the recording as well with your fellow students who are not able to join in. Okay, great, great. So yeah, so welcome to the lecture number 3 in the information strategy course. And we will talk about the business impact of information technology. So last 2 times we talked a little bit about what information technology or information system is. We talked a bit about a business process and where do we use information systems or information technology. We talked about some of the big products or companies that provide software products, so SAP, Microsoft, Salesforce, etc. So we talked about those companies. And uh, we will start we will talk a little bit about the assignment from the last lecture, which was a case study around Procter and Gamble. So we'll talk about that, plus maybe other questions that you may have on the last lecture. And then we will go into the topics for this lecture. And then there's an assignment which I'll share a bit more about, which I have posted on Google Classroom. So I will share more about it and then say how you guys should respond to that assignment. Okay. Yeah. Before I sort of start, I was wondering indeed that, and I think I've tried to check that on WhatsApp as well. That hopefully all your classmates have access to the Google Classroom, because that is what I'm using to post the information, whether it is slides or videos, video links, and also like this assignment, the assignment that you will do in this week. I've also posted it there. So I really want to make sure that everybody can access the Google Classroom. And here's the link, here's the classroom code. I also separately requested, maybe the student representatives could actually collect the names and email addresses of all the enrolled students for this master program. So, I can make sure that they have received the link for the Google Classroom, in case some of them have not yet seen that. So I will follow up on this separately on WhatsApp to get the name and email addresses. But please, if you get a chance, make sure you share with basically everybody in this course that they should have access to the Google Classroom. That's quite important. Okay, then let's go into first the assignment from last time. So that was about Procter and Gamble. Procter and Gamble is a company that makes consumer products, and there were some questions around, hey, how does the information systems, let's say strategy that they have had, how is that changing their business or not changing their business, etc. So yeah, does anybody want to sort of comment on what management organizational technology should have to be addressed when implementing these different tools that were referenced in the case study? Anybody wants to share anything? You can also type in if you don't want to sort of um, come off mute, but feel free to come off mute and share that as well. So yeah, let me see. Let me go to the typing screen myself first. Where is it? Okay, so indeed, the first question is more about like, okay, what kind of issues had to be addressed? Can somebody share? Isa, maybe you can type something in, or anybody wants to comment. Okay, are you able to unmute yourself or not?
Yes, we can.
Okay, you can. Okay, that's good. That's good. So you can unmute yourself. That's good. Okay, I mean, I can imagine that maybe it's, if you have yeah, not thought about the questions, then you can't sort of respond. But um, how about the third one? How are these systems related to Procter and Gamble's business strategy? So, how do some of the information systems, you know, that have been talked about in the case study, which was about business efficiency, business fair, decision cockpits, how are they impacting Procter and Gamble business strategy? Somebody wants to comment? No, okay. I understand. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. No problem. I mean, that is also the reason why I've changed the format for the assignment for this class. But let me kind of share a few thoughts, right? So what kind of issues had to be faced? So I mean, if people who sort of read the case study will see, Procter and Gamble, needs to act very quickly to a market trend. So for example, if they are selling soaps and suddenly the sale of soaps is going down in one city, they need to actually be able to know why the sale of soaps has gone down in the last week or last month, and they need to do something about it. Maybe make the soap a bit more cheaper, or figure out why this could have happened, and try to come up with a sort of a different strategy. So, but in order to do that, they need the data on how many soaps have we sold yesterday, and it's not that straightforward to get the data that is actually correct and everybody sort of trusts that data. And so they were spending a lot of time just debating, hey, the reports that we have and the data that we see, is this valid or not valid? And they were just sort of just wasting too much time on that, instead of actually thinking about, hey, what should we do if the sales are low? So no, that's kind of example of issues that they were kind of facing, and they decided to let's say implement a real time mechanism of collecting data and processing data and converting it into, let's say, some sort of analytics charts, etc., so that the business management can actually you know uh, take the time away from all this discussion and debate on data, and actually do something, make some decisions with it, right? So the decision making tools change the way the company ran its business. If you remember in the case study, the CEO of the company will have a meeting every Monday morning now, where he will actually look at the sales from last week, and he will sort of decide based on the sales that, hey, do we need to readjust or change our strategy or something like that. So you cannot actually do any of that if you don't have a system, information systems that are geared to that. So it was a very integral part of their business strategy, because they kind of made decisions based on data, and that data was actually processed and shown through the information system. So yeah, it's quite important. And I think this is the type of a case or case study that you guys need to get a little bit more familiar with. Let me see if somebody has sent something. Have you sent us assignment last session about page 84 or we? Well, the assignment from last session was to read chapter 2 and to do the case study um, of Procter and Gamble. Yeah. So you have to read the chapter because I'm not covering everything in this 1 hour lecture from the chapter. And I think, I am actually covering key concepts, but I am expecting you to read the whole chapter. And you can focus on the key concepts that I'm covering in the slides, but please read the whole chapter. And, I will always pick one case study that you should go a little bit deeper into and think about the answers to the questions, and at least start to think about what does it mean, and what could it be, etc. Right. um, and some of the important concepts from chapter 2 I've just covered here is about the business process. So we talked about the business process, what it is, and what is it that information technology will actually automate. That's the business process. Types of information systems. We talked about different kind of decision making systems, the learning management system, etc., and how information systems enable business process. So how does it actually enable it, which is actually by automation of the steps or by bringing together things that that took a long time before to do but now can be done a bit more quickly and a bit more automated. So that's yeah, those are like the key concepts from chapter 2. I would say let's move on to the content of this lecture, which is about the business impact of information systems. So I will cover that in probably like 5 or 6 slides for this hour, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the assignment for the next class, which everybody will have to do that assignment. So there's not going to be any choice to kind of do it or not do it. I am expecting everybody to do that assignment. Okay. Let me see. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, in the book you will see this kind of diagram, which is on the left hand side. You will see it many times being repeated. It kind of says that, hey, information system basically um, doesn't work on its own. You have a business challenge that exists, so there's some sort of business problem. The management looks at the business problem and says, hey, maybe we can solve it by using some technology and by changing some of our processes. And so the management sort of feeds into the information system. The organization may need to change in terms of either the way it is working today or the way it wants to work tomorrow. So there's, let's say, a piece of business process change or business process automation, you could say. And then there's some technology. There's some technology at the underlying that we use. It could be the cloud technology or whatever, Internet of Things or blockchain, things we talked about in the emerging technologies course. It could be different technologies, and that kind of comes together in an information system. So information system is more than just information technology. It's a little bit more. It's a bit broader. And by using an information system, you actually create some sort of a business solution to this business challenge. So that's kind of a way to imagine and to look at different case studies in the book. And what you will see is that the book has used this diagram and actually has a lot more points associated with each of the boxes to explain how you can use the information system to solve that business challenge, etc. So even for the PNG case study, I think they have this diagram, and they've kind of said, hey, what the manager was thinking about and what information, how they use information system, etc. So please, you need to understand this diagram a bit better. So yeah, what I wanted to say, framework on the left shows how management and organization technology elements come together to create an information system. This diagram is used many, many times for case studies, so please understand a bit more in detail. And I think the best way to do it is by using the case study on page 111. So this framework is applied to a company called Sears. Sears is a retail company, so it's like a place where you go to buy your clothes or to buy, yeah, mostly it's clothes or shoes, things like that, and so there's a case study on this which you can have a look at, and it will give you how best to use this framework. So this framework is important. It might, come in the exam. So I would say please have a look at this framework. And we will talk more about this framework. So almost every case study we do, we will kind of come back to this framework. So even for the assignment that I will share at the end of today's class, you can use this framework to kind of, think through about the different parts of the case study and think through about the answers. Okay. Let me see if there's any question. No. Okay. Yeah. So history of. So the lecture
Yes,
today
hello,
is about.
teacher.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, there is some
Yeah.
students that are waiting to accept.
Oh, okay. Let me sort of accept them. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Muhammad, for letting me know.
Thank you.
Hopefully they are joining in. Oh, yeah, that's always a challenge. I should keep an eye on that as well. Sometimes I forget about it. Oh. Okay, okay. Okay, so let's go back. So this lecture is focusing on how information technology can actually transform a business, right? How it can actually impact the business and actually change your business strategy totally. So you have some strategy, but it can kind of totally change that. So we will talk about that in a bit more detail. So, the one thing I wanted to share is indeed, the history of disruptive technologies, meaning technologies that changed the way the business is done, and technologies that created new companies and new industries. So, make things basically changes the way the world works. So in 1971, kind of something called microprocessor was created primarily by Intel and Texas Instruments. This microprocessor is this thing that is in all the computers. It is the thing that powers the computers, right? So gives it the processing speed, et cetera, et cetera. So in something that transformed. Then you had personal computers. Everybody hopefully has heard of or knows a personal computer. IBM used to make this. HP is another company. These are your traditional computers. And then digital photography was made. People could take digital photos instead of like more, the previous ones with the rolls, etc. um, about 1989 or 1990, the internet was created, or at least available publicly to start sharing, things online. And then 1998, we had internet, let's say music and videos coming on internet, etc. Then about the same time, I think we had, Google coming up with the search engine that it has, and also all kinds of services like Gmail, etc. And the latest disruptive trend is software as a service, which is the cloud technology, which we talked a little bit about in the last lecture on emerging technology. So this is the biggest game changer now, and it is changing the way companies work. And so with each disruptive technology, what it does is that it gives certain businesses an advantage and certain businesses a disadvantage. So it kind of changes the way the business, it does its own strategy, and basically grows or dies. Yeah, that's the point I want to make. So let's go further. And I think when you look at information technology and when you look at the organization, it's not very straightforward relationship. So, you know, the use of information technology in an organization and to be able to, let's say, drive the business strategy, there are a lot of factors involved in it. It is not just about, hey, we rolled out the technology and now let's use it, and now let's, change the way we work, and let's just be very, super, how should I say, super automated in everything, etc. There are a lot of factors that impact how information technology will actually be used in an organization. So things like culture of the organization, things like business processes, how well is the business process defined or not, things like the structure, meaning the hierarchical structure or the organizational structure of the, of the company. Does the management take information technology seriously or not. All these factors determine how information technology is going to be used in the organization. And I think as a IT analyst or IT or ICT, let's say, analyst or a person, you um, you know i- you know you need to know, you may be able to control how the IT system works, but you may not be able to control how the IT system is used by people. So you can kind of control, hey, what can this system do? When I search for something, something should come out. But you cannot really control that people actually use it for searching, for example. And a good, I will share a good example, but I want to ask you guys a good example first of where IT solution is there, but people don't use it in the way that it was designed or defined. And that's, as an IT professional, you need to be aware of that, and you need to be able to influence, you know, how people are also using the information system or information technology the way it was defined. So generally in organization, it is not that straightforward. It's not that you deliver IT and everybody's now using it. It doesn't work like that. And so you need to be aware of that. um, and maybe if there is maybe if there is an example that you can share about when an IT system was there but we didn't use it as it is intended. Yeah, and you can type in, or you can sort of come off mute. Personal affairs. Okay, I don't know exactly what that would mean, so maybe a little bit more from HP on that. But other examples of IT being there but not used like it should be. I will share a very good example in a second. Anybody? No? Okay, then let me share. So a good example is the learning management system, right? And me as a faculty of not using the learning management system, and instead of that using Google Classroom. That's a very good example of IT system being there but not being used. And I may have good reasons or bad reasons to do that. There could be other reasons. I mean, the reason I'm using Google Classroom is that I find it a lot more easier to kind of share information, and not to overload you with hundreds of emails, etc. And so hopefully the IT system will um, function like it should function. And I'm very sure that the IT people are working very hard on it. So nothing against them. They're doing a great job to kind of get the system in best shape. But yeah, you can't control the user behavior. So if I'm a user, and I'm using Google Classroom instead of IT system, you will have many such cases when you are in a company and you roll out IT, and you will see, hey, more than half of the users are not using it because they just, they have other reasons not to use it, etc. So very important that you think about these things, think about the cultural aspect, the business process aspect of an IT, right? It's not just about the IT system. And unless the IT system is used properly in a business, you can't really bring about a change in the business strategy or the way it was intended. So that's kind of important to know. Um, the next slide is a bit about organizational resistance to change. So I mean, we all are a little bit resistant to change. Of course, we would like to embrace things that help us, and probably not want to do things that increase work for us or doesn't help us much, etc. But it's important to be aware of, let's say, the organizational resistance to information system innovations, because all the innovations or new technologies always bring some change with it, and not everybody in the organization would like that, because it changes their own job or tasks. It changes that. There might be some change in the organizational structure as a result of the information technology. So maybe instead of having three people, now there are only two people who can do the work, because we've automated so many things that we don't need the third person. Okay, that's that's actually people impact. So instead of having 5 people in the team, we now will only have three. Okay, of course the three will also be a bit worried that, hey, tomorrow if you further increase the technology, there may only be one person. So these are all factors that organization are important. And I think you guys, as the let's say information management professionals, need to know and be able to influence it. um, so that's something I definitely think you should learn more about. Okay, then we will now we'll come to more the strategy aspect of information systems. So how can information systems impact business strategy? And the first question I have is, um, have you guys heard of, or have you guys read more about the Porter's competitive forces model, like Porter's five forces? It's called Porter's five forces model. Have you heard of that? Have people heard of it? Maybe you can message in the chat window. In your bachelor's study, or in otherwise, have you heard of the Porter's five forces model? It's a very common model for strategy, because this is a course on information strategy. We do need to cover that. Okay, are people typing in the chat and I'm not able to? Okay, Abdullah says, yeah, you have kind of covered it sometime. Yeah, it should be part of your bachelor studies. Yeah, that's good. Azad said no. Azad says no, he's not covered it. Okay, thanks for letting me know. So then I can spend a bit more time on it. This is quite important. This is quite important. So I would suggest please spend proper time on this. So Porter's five forces, what are they? The Porter says that the competition in between a company and its competitors is kind of dependent on these five things. Yeah. So the strategic position of the firm is not just about the direct competition between the companies, but about these five things. The first thing is, can new players enter the market? So can new players enter the market, right? So things like, so think about it like this. Zoom is a good example, right? So we have Skype, we have Google Meet, we have, uh, Microsoft has a conferencing system called Microsoft Teams. you know so in the video conferencing business, or in the business of video and audio conferencing, you have big players. Google is there, Microsoft is there. Like, these are big players, right? They have a lot of money, they have a lot of resources. But what is Zoom? Zoom only does video and audio conferencing, and it is taking away the market share from Google and from Microsoft Teams. It's a new market entrant. It could come in and it could disrupt the competition between Google, Microsoft, and and Microsoft owns Skype, and let's say Google owns Google Meet, Facebook owns WhatsApp, etc. So, but this new market entrant, Zoom, could come in and really disrupt the whole kind of setting, right? Because we are using Zoom. We're not using Google Meet. We're not using Skype. We're not using WhatsApp, chat. I mean, like a WhatsApp, a video conference or audio conference, etc. Right? So that's a good. That's a one force. New market. And new market entrants come in and disrupt us. Substitute products. Can something we provide be substituted by something else? Um, yeah, I have to think about a good example here. But it is about, like, okay, do something we provide, like, for example, airline business is a good example of it. If you want to travel long distances, you don't really have an option except taking a flight, right? I mean, okay, nowadays you cannot take a flight because of the coronavirus situation, but what alternative product is there if you want to reach, let's say some other part of the world far away, and you're in Somalia now? What other alternative is there? You cannot, of course, drive in car to Russia, for example. No, you have to take a flight. So, okay, maybe an alternative is shipping, but it takes like months to reach, right? So substitute products is like, can what we offer be substituted by something else? And that's a big disruptor. So if something else can substitute us, then yeah, then we're impacted. you know Suppliers. So how tight of a grip do we have on our suppliers? Meaning, do they have more power or do we have more power? Because if suppliers have more power, they might actually also slowly start to do what you're doing. Um, let's say what could be a good example of this. Um, yeah, let's say Apple is a good example. So Apple used to only make, originally only used to make how should I say, the the Mac the Mac computers, and then it sort of made the iPhone, and now it's also making the headsets, the kind of headphones, so these are things that somebody else was making. Apple was not making these things before, but by working with their suppliers, slowly, slowly sort of got all the kind of ingredients in place to make its own things, and so now it's Apple who has more owner, authority or power over its suppliers than the other way around. But you can have, this thing can be pretty much reversed. So if you are a company that is only, and we talked about this question in emerging technologies, if you're a company that is using a cloud service provider and you're only using, let's say, Microsoft, just as an example. So Microsoft is a supplier to you for cloud services. Um, and if that is the only supplier to you, then Microsoft holds more power over you in that relationship. So if Microsoft decides, hey, we're not going to make that product anymore, which you use, Mr. Firm X, you use this product, but we're not going to make that anymore. You need to take now this more expensive product from us. You don't really have an option because you only went with one supplier, and the supplier has more power in that equation. So supplier is another important force, and customer is another important force. So these four, along with, let's say, the competition between the existing companies, that's the fifth force, that decides how uh, how the company's position is in the market and what strategy they should pick. Now you will say, well, why is this relevant to information management or information systems, right? And it is relevant because information systems can tilt the balance of these forces. Yeah, information systems can tilt the balance of these forces, and therefore make um, a certain company more powerful in the equation compared to other company, which is its competitor, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Now, I'm saying again and again, the Porter's five forces is quite important. I've also included a YouTube a video link for more, like it's a 15-minute video on the five forces, a bit more in detail. So hopefully you can revise your understanding if you read this before, and if you didn't encounter this before, that video should be sufficient enough to understand the five forces. Now, like I said, the information systems a company uses can tilt the balance of these forces, right? And there are four generic strategies that companies choose. They can either be low cost leaders, so they kind of focus on low cost strategy. And an example of low cost strategy could be, a lot of companies in China, for example, their products are typically lowest cost. They compete based on, hey, is the lowest cost product. So if the cost is important to you, you will go for that company. It's just low cost. Then there's another strategy, which is product differentiation, meaning you make your product that's different than others, you market it based on that, and you sort of create a more brand value of that product, and it's the product is different. So an example would be like iPhone from Apple. iPhone is slightly different than all the other phones that we have. Of course, there can be debate about it, but they have based their strategy on keeping iPhone a bit more premium, keeping it with all the kind of fancy things to it, and that's just um, different than Samsung phone, or different than uh, you know Xiaomi and a few other phones, phone companies, etc. So that's product differentiation. Focus on a market niche, meaning you will not focus on the full complete market, but you will only focus on certain specific part of the market. That's another strategy. And you will, fourth strategy is like you can tighten the link between customer and supplier. So you can read more about these strategies in the chapter 3 as well. Now, maybe can I get an example of a company that specializes in can you yeah, I mean, we can just not do all four because I'm looking at the time as well, but maybe give me an example of a company that is using any of these strategies. So maybe mention the company and the strategy in the chat box. Let's see what you guys can think of and come up with. Yeah, thanks a lot, Isa, for sharing. Yeah, that's the SWOT analysis in a way: buyer, supplier, substitution, new entrants. Yeah, Amazon Chime. Okay, I don't know about Chime. Sakaria, so that's maybe you may need to retype that. Existing competitors, those are the five forces. Yeah, Isa, thanks. That's good. Oh, oh my God. I'm sorry about this. I don't know why. Some results are still waiting to be accepted. Yeah, Alibaba is a good example of oh, Amazon Chime is like Zoom meeting. Yeah. So I mean, look, I mean, it exists, but we don't really I mean, not a lot of people are using it now, but hopefully they're going to grow and they can grow it a bit more. So um, an example of low cost provider could indeed be Alibaba, for example. And um, how should I say, what could be an example of market niche? So let's think about it. Uh, I could say, yeah, maybe something like that. So there are companies that only make socks, socks that you wear, with your shoes. So you wear socks, and there are some companies that only make socks. Like there's a company called Happy Socks. They're just like very niche. Niche means you only focus on a narrow part of the market. So they only make socks. They don't make the whole trouser or the other clothes and the shoes or whatever, other kind of things. They only make socks, and that's kind of focusing on the niche. They specialize in making the most different looking and probably expensive socks. That's possible. Yeah, sports companies, like Nike. Nike is a good example of product differentiation because they focus on trying to brand their products heavily. They try to brand it differently than, let's say, Adidas and Puma or other, I would say, other, sports clothes companies. But yeah, those. So you get the idea. So companies have to choose a strategy. Maybe another example is Walmart. So we don't know, I mean, you may not know, and even I don't know much about Walmart in that sense. It's a US based company, but it's a low cost provider, right? I mean, they guarantee lowest cost for buying, for your normal shopping of groceries like vegetables and and juices or whatever you want to buy, like sugar or salt or crackers, etc. So Walmart is focused on low cost leadership, and each of these companies that has a strategy requires actually an information systems or information technology to support their strategy. So for example, Walmart will heavily invest in information systems so that it can maintain its low cost leadership, and so its information systems will work towards giving them the advantage in this space. So that's where I'm going with this. So it's important. So it's important how IT provides, or supports the business strategy. Okay. Some example of the five forces from the perspective of, let's say, what did the internet do to the industry and to the competition, right? So in terms of substitute products and services, you know, because the internet came in, there are a lot of new substitutes started to come, and a lot of new approaches were there to meet the needs and to do the activities that you would have done, before the internet came. So a lot of substitutes were available. You could buy not only from your own country or not only from your, let's say, local city or state, but you can now buy things from other parts of the country. You could buy it from other countries, and so suddenly the internet disrupted the players who were relying on only selling things that were in the country or in the city or in the state, right? So that's one example. Customers bargaining power. So customers power increased. So imagine with Google existing, you can now compare the prices of different products, online. That was not possible before Google search came in, right? So you couldn't compare, hey, a phone here costs me whatever $10 and a phone there costs me $12. Why am I buying here? Why am I not buying there, etc. That gave a lot of power to the customers, right? Because we can now see the prices from everywhere or from other suppliers, or let's say other companies, and not only this one company that is telling me that it will only sell it to me for $15, for example. So internet disrupted the buying power of customers. Similarly, the suppliers bargaining power. A lot of things are now bought over the internet, which push the suppliers to be able to, first of all, make visible and be, yeah, let's say, they need to play in a much bigger market now, because the competition is higher, because the customer can choose from many different suppliers, not only the ones that are in the country, for example. And then also a lot of the intermediaries, got disrupted. They were not there. So if there was some company doing business in between, they just immediately were disrupted, because internet made things transparent. And then I did not need the intermediary to do my transaction. I could just go and do the transaction directly with the supplier. And so, yeah, this is how internet disrupted. But like I said, cloud is the biggest technology now, and it is disrupting a lot of industries, and a lot, and the way the industries work. Yeah, let me see. Kmart. Yeah, Kmart is similar to Walmart in that sense. It is also low cost dealership. Yeah, like Coca-Cola only. Yeah, so Coca-Cola has this product differentiation, right? They have a formula that's, let's say, their own intellectual property. They don't share that, and they kind of market themselves as, having this product, Coca-Cola, that nobody can, create. So anyway, so yeah, please, yeah, any question? Is there a question? I heard something. Okay, if not, then let's keep moving. So okay, here's actually already some examples of the low cost leadership and product differentiation. And so you can see Walmart, like the example I was sharing. It uses information systems to produce products and services at lower prices than its competitors. So information systems are playing critical role in it, to be able to track, even for it to be able to track, like, hey, what are other um, uh, you know companies selling, let's say, apples for. So I'm selling apples for $1. What is Kmart selling the apple for? They can track it, and they can decide to lower the price of apple, because Kmart is also selling it for the same price, for example. And they can only do that if they have information systems in place, if people are using it, it's getting the right data in it, etc., etc. Okay, let me make sure I'm admitting all the students. Then product differentiation, we talked about Apple. They try to position their product differently. Focus on market niche. Here the example of Hilton Hotels. Customer intimacy or supplier intimacy. Yeah. So here there's an example of Amazon. So Amazon, works really, really hard to keep you as a customer. So if you are an Amazon customer, it will try really, really hard to keep you as its customer. So it goes to many different lengths to keep you as a customer. So if you have a problem, you can easily reach to them. You can easily tell them, hey, I have a problem here. They may return it very quickly. They may give you a discount or whatever that is, but they are very customer focused, right? So that is their strategy, and that's their differentiation. And then they need the information systems to help them understand more about the customer, help them to learn more about their customer, etc. Yeah, so these are important things. This is how information systems impacts a business strategy, right? By supporting what the strategy is, or by kind of changing the strategy and direction. Now, um, now, what has IT enabled, or information system enabled, new products and services been introduced? So let's just make it more IT specific now. So Amazon kind of had this one-click shopping. So you sort of I don't know if you have used the Amazon website, but if you go there, you can also actually enable one-click shopping, meaning you don't have to uh, put something in your shopping basket, and then sort of say, hey, I'm not going to pay, here's my address, and I go through the authorization of it, and then it sort of it normally will take like 5 or 6 clicks to buy something. um, but Amazon sort of created this one-click shopping, and it licenses that to other online retailers. So wherever you will see a one-click shopping button, you can imagine it has actually been created by Amazon, and it is being shared, and they get fees for that by other platforms, or by other websites on the internet. Similarly, iTunes, if you've heard of iTunes, it is the Apple created iTunes as a mechanism to share music online in a more legal manner. Um, and so, iTunes created such a big market for them. And, what they did was to break down that you didn't need to buy the whole album of 5 or 6 songs, but you could just buy one song, and that disrupted the music industry forever. And one thing you can maybe notice, if you listen to a lot of online music, uh, one of the big impacts it had was that the songs became smaller and smaller, like shorter and shorter in duration, because the music industry is now paid for by the number of times the customer listens to a song. And so what they do is that they deliberately keep the song short. So instead of 5 6 minute songs, which used to be very normal like 20 30 years ago, you would have songs that are 5 or 6 minutes. Nowadays the songs will be between 3 and 4 minutes. And that's a big change because of the way technology is used, because of the way the business model changed on how you would actually get paid for it, right? Let me see if there's any question or anybody saying anything. Yeah, Ismail, Airbnb is a market niche. Yeah, it can be an example of market niche because they need to focus on, let's say, only the renting of, of space, yeah, of accommodation, and they disrupted the hotel industry, right? So Airbnb came in, totally disrupted the hotel industry, because who would want to now stay in a hotel, instead of easily finding a better price and a better kind of rooms and facility to stay via Airbnb. So they heavily disrupted the hotel industry, and they became like the biggest hotel of the world. And the fact that they don't own a hotel, they don't own any of the property, but they're still the biggest hotel chain in the world in a way, right? So can you please take back to slide number 7? Okay, here is slide number 7. I don't know if there's a question on this. Abdi Wahid, is there a question on it? Please, yeah, please type the question in. So yeah, I was here. So yeah, Apple, and so with online music that got disrupted. Um, and there's this another service called Ping, and I don't know about Ping, I don't play golf, etc., but customers can select from more than 1 million different golf club options. Yeah, okay, this makes sense. So golf is played by kind of the stick, which is called the golf club, and of course you can have a lot of different kinds of situation demand that you use different kind of a stick. And so they build this library of 1 million different golf clubs, and you can now you know um, build to order. You can kind of build your customized clubs. You can kind of customize your sticks and order that. And of course, I can imagine. And this is only possible because of information technology. PayPal was the first company to introduce this person-to-person payment, where you can transfer between, you could transfer money, um, let's say between bank accounts, or between credit card accounts, without actually having to go to a bank account, and just do it with the PayPal account. And so PayPal is one of the biggest companies now, and it disrupted the way people pay for it. And I think you'll see more of this, because even WhatsApp will introduce the feature of paying people, through the WhatsApp, and so that's heavily going to disrupt the banks. So how will banks respond to that? It's very difficult for banks to respond to that, and you see a new entrant, right? Here's a new entrant, PayPal. It didn't exist, 15 years ago or whatever, 20 years ago. It didn't exist, and it comes in and it will start to disrupt the way banks are used. Basically, banks will, you know, we're not really going to use bank services to transfer money to people. We'll just transfer it using PayPal, and banks can just, yeah, not have those services because we will not use it. Um, okay. I'm looking at the time as well. I think that brings me to the end of this. So the biggest item here is the Porter's five forces, and to be able to understand that information technology doesn't work on its own. It works in an organization, in an organizational context. And okay, now comes the chapter. I mean, the assignment for this. So I would like you to read chapter 3, right? I would like you to go through the chapter 3 in the with this book, and I also want you to look at a specific case study which is on page 129, which is about Starbucks. Do people know Starbucks? What a Starbucks is? It's basically a, yeah, it's like a shop that sells coffee. It's in a lot of different countries. Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Um, eh, Yeah, probably no, that's true. So Ismail, thanks for that. But yeah, no, I agree, Mohammed, that yeah, it may be different in the African context. Fully agree. And then it may take time to disrupt the banking systems, but I think it will come faster than many people think. So it will come much faster than what many people think. So I agree, it will take time, but I think what I'm trying to say is that it will come really fast. You will, before you know it, boom, it's disrupted. You just, it's just, yeah. Like for example, the fact that you guys are able to, hear my voice over the internet, and you can sort of, do it in streaming. So like I'm streaming right now, and you're doing it directly. I mean, this is unbelievable, right? I mean, this is unbelievable, the speed at which the mobile data transfer and the cost of it and making it much more affordable has happened. It has disrupted the telecom players, everywhere. I mean, it's just disrupted. So anyway, so um, yeah, let me come back to the case study. So Starbucks is a company that sells coffee, but it is one of the most successful companies that sells coffee, right? So it's not just any company. And this case study is about how technology actually helps Starbucks to find new ways to compete, meaning to basically win market share. And what I would like is that I've posted the case study on the classwork. Let me see if I go here. Yeah, I've posted the assignment here on Google Classroom, and hence it's important that let me go back to this. Hence it's important that you have access to Google Classroom. The case study is there with the what you need to read, and the questions are there. There are three questions, and what I would like is that everybody tries to answer these questions. You can there's a Word document that I mean a Google document that I've also attached, which has these three questions. Please make sure you write your name and your email address, and you answer these questions. Everybody should answer using their own Google document, and you can just upload it back, or you will be able to actually answer it right here. So like where I'm now, this is where you can put in your answers, and it will open a separate copy for everybody. Right? And so I am expecting you to do this work between now and next week, Tuesday. So you have almost 1 week. I will review this work on maybe Tuesday night or maybe Wednesday morning before our class. Before our class next week. This assignment is not yet graded, so this is not a graded assignment, but this is actually moving us towards bringing some grading into this course, and also the other course as well. So yeah, we will first test it through this assignment, through this case study, because I just want to make sure that we are you know we have, first of all, we have covered every student. We have everybody on Google Classroom. We are, they're able to access it, they're able to answer the questions, etc. But I'm actually expecting everybody to answer the case study. It's not optional anymore. Okay. Let me see if there are any questions. Let me come to the Zoom. Okay, I have shared the link of the Google Classroom. Um, Do you not have the link, Abdullahi? Okay, let me make sure that I share the link of the Google Classroom in the WhatsApp group, if that will help. I will do that. And you will need a code. So actually, here, sorry, I have done it here. So in the slides, in the slides, here's the link to the classroom, and here's the classroom code. But yeah, of course, if you're not on Google Classroom, then you also don't see the slides. So I will still send the link. I will still send the link on the WhatsApp group, and I will also share the classroom code on the WhatsApp group. Please make sure that you've joined it, and also that all your colleagues and your classmates have joined it. Okay. Yeah, today was a very quiet class. You didn't ask or provide as much questions or comments that I would like. So please, I encourage you to ask more questions. Yeah, Mohammed, go ahead. Is there a question?
Thank you very much. I've joined the class today, and I'm really looking forward to it.
So, sorry, Mohammed. Okay, thanks. No, I heard you, but I didn't fully understand what you're saying. But if you just you just said that you attended the class today, and that's good. So thanks for that. Um, okay, then any other questions? Maybe type in if there's any other questions, like even if it's like question about organizing. I mean the about the case study organizing or logistics or whatever. So is there any other question? Okay, if not, then I will post the recording, maybe tomorrow, so that people who maybe missed the class or were joining late can still go through the recording and can still do the case study assignment that's there. Um, on Sunday we will have the second class of emerging technology. So please, yeah, just we'll connect then. Um, okay, let me see what is there. Okay, some questions are coming in. Ismail is asking a page limit to the assignment. Like, oh, no, there's no page limit, but please answer all the questions. So there are 3 questions. Please answer all the questions. I would like to understand where is everybody. Where are all the students with their understanding of the questions and the case study. So, it will tell me what where everybody is. And don't worry. I mean, it is not graded, right? It is not. I'm not grading anybody on this assignment, but I do want to hear from everybody. I do want to understand where all of you are, and please feel free to be open with me to say, hey, this doesn't make sense, professor. I don't understand this. I'm very new to this. This is all okay with me. I will try to help even more, and we can try to have um, some additional sessions that focus on areas which you don't fully understand, etc. Right? So, but I do want everybody to respond, because that's the only way I can help everybody, right? I'm not here to only help 3 people or 4 people in the class, right? I want to help everybody in the same fashion, same manner. Okay, the question from Abdi Rahim is, teacher, link of recorded lesson cannot be downloaded in YouTube. Yeah, you cannot download it. I mean, you cannot download anything from YouTube unless you have a YouTube premium account, but you should be able to listen to it. Um, you may not be able to download the lesson. No. Is that important? Maybe Abdurrahim, is it important that you download? Please look at it. If because you really need to download, then we can have a look at it. But I think YouTube should be good enough to listen, and to be able to go through the session. The slides are available for download. Yeah, Kader Ali, thank you for saying that. Yeah. Then okay, Sakaria, then please share with your colleague how best to download, if they want to still download. Sir, will you also post this one? I mean, the recorded session. Yes, I will also post this recording tomorrow, because what happens is that Zoom doesn't automatically produce the recording like immediately, so it takes a few hours before it makes the recording available. And so once it's available, I will post it. Definitely by tomorrow I will post it. Okay. So that everybody sort of has access to it. All right, and I'm really looking forward to everybody sort of doing the assignment. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, and have a good evening. And enjoy your dinner if you didn't have dinner yet, and and have a good sleep. Okay, thank you everybody. Bye bye.